favorite books and movies. Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, books. Books have always been a huge part of my life, and there's nothing quite like getting lost in the pages of a great story. Whether it's a gripping mystery, a heartwarming romance, or an inspiring nonfiction, books have a way of transporting us to new worlds and expanding our horizons. Growing up, I was introduced to reading by my parents, who would read bedtime stories to me every night. One of the first books I fell in love with was The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. It's a classic tale about a young girl discovering a hidden garden and, in the process, finding joy and purpose in her life. I remember being fascinated by the idea of uncovering secrets and creating something beautiful out of something abandoned. As I got older, my taste in books expanded. In my teenage years, I was drawn to adventure and fantasy novels. One of my all-time favorites is Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. I know it's a popular choice, but for good reason. The magical world of Hogwarts, the friendships, and the battles between good and evil kept me hooked for years. Even now, I often find myself rereading parts of the series. It's like visiting an old friend. These days, I enjoy a mix of genres. Recently, I read Becoming by Michelle Obama, and it was such a profound and inspiring experience. Her journey from growing up in Chicago to becoming the First Lady of the United States is truly remarkable. What I loved most was her honesty and how relatable her struggles and triumphs felt. It's a book that encourages you to dream big and work hard to achieve your goals. Another book I'd recommend is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It's about a woman who gets to explore alternate lives she could have lived. It's beautifully written and really made me reflect on the choices I've made in my own life. Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you had made a different decision? This book explores that idea in such a fascinating way. Books also have the power to teach us valuable lessons. For instance, I once read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and its central message of following your dreams and listening to your heart has stayed with me for years. It's one of those stories that you can return to at different points in your life and always find something new to take away. One of my favorite things about books is how they allow us to connect with others. I love discussing books with friends and family. For instance, my best friend and I recently formed a little book club, and our first book was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. We spent hours talking about Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, the witty dialogue, and the timeless themes of love and social expectations. It's amazing how one story can spark so many conversations and bring people closer together. Of course, I don't always stick to novels. Sometimes I enjoy nonfiction, especially books about psychology or self-improvement. One that had a big impact on me was Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's all about building good habits and breaking bad ones, with practical advice that you can start applying immediately. I've even started using some of his tips in my daily life, like habit stacking, and it's made such a difference. I also appreciate poetry, though I'll admit I don't read it as often as I'd like. One collection I adore is Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. Her poems are simple yet so powerful, touching on themes of love, loss, and healing. Reading poetry feels like giving my mind a little break while still engaging with something meaningful. When it comes to recommending books to others, I always like to tailor my suggestions based on what they're interested in. For example, if someone enjoys thrillers, I might recommend Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. If they prefer historical fiction, the book Thief by Marcus Zusak is an absolute must-read. Books also make excellent gifts. Last year, I gave my sister a copy of Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, and she loved it. It's a beautiful story about family, love, and growing up, which I think everyone can relate to in some way. Reading isn't just about enjoyment. It's also a way to improve your English. Whenever I come across a word I don't know, I make a note of it and look it up later. Over time, this has helped me expand my vocabulary and even improve my writing skills. For example, words like nostalgia, resilience, and ephemeral are ones I first encountered in books. If you're just starting to get into reading, I recommend choosing books that match your current English level. Short stories or children's books are great places to start because they're easy to understand and often have a lot of repetition, which helps with learning new words. Lastly, I want to say that there's no right or wrong way to enjoy books. Whether you prefer physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks, what matters is that you're engaging with stories and ideas. Personally, I love the feel of a physical book in my hands, but I also enjoy listening to audiobooks during long walks or while doing chores. So, that's a little glimpse into my world of books. I hope this inspires you to pick up a book and start your own reading journey. In the next section, we'll dive into another exciting topic, movies. Hi again. Now that we've talked about books, let's dive into another form of storytelling that I absolutely love, movies. There's something magical about watching a story unfold on the big screen, or even from the comfort of your couch. Movies have a way of captivating us, making us laugh, cry, and think about life in new ways. I have to start with one of my all-time favorite movies, The Lion King. It's a timeless classic that I grew up watching, and no matter how many times I see it, it never loses its charm. The story of Simba, his journey to adulthood, and his eventual return to claim his place as king is incredibly moving. And let's not forget the amazing soundtrack. Songs like Hakuna Matata and Circle of Life are unforgettable. When it comes to genres, I love a bit of everything. If I'm in the mood for something thrilling, I'll watch a good action or adventure movie. One of my top picks in this category is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Arkansas. The mix of suspense, humor, and history is perfect. And who doesn't love watching Harrison Ford in his iconic role as Indiana Jones? For lighter days, I turn to romantic comedies. One movie I can't get enough of is The Holiday. It's about two women who swap homes during the Christmas season and end up finding love in unexpected places. It's sweet, funny, and so heartwarming. Plus, the settings are gorgeous. England and California both look like dream destinations in the movie. Speaking of beautiful settings, I also enjoy movies with stunning cinematography. One that comes to mind is La La Land. The use of color, the music, and the performances by Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling make it an absolute masterpiece. It's a love story with a bittersweet ending, but it's told so beautifully that you can't help but fall in love with it. Another movie I adore is The Pursuit of Happiness starring Will Smith. It's based on a true story and follows the journey of a father and son who face incredible hardships, but never give up. The themes of resilience and hope are so inspiring, and it's a movie that stays with you long after you've watched it. For a bit of nostalgia, I often rewatch Toy Story. It was one of the first animated movies I saw as a child, and it's amazing how it still resonates with me as an adult. The friendship between Woody and Buzz Lightyear, along with the idea of toys having their own little world, is just so imaginative and fun. On the other hand, there are days when I'm in the mood for something that challenges me to think differently. That's when I turn to sci-fi movies like Inception. Directed by Christopher Nolan, it's a mind-bending story about dreams within dreams. It's the kind of movie that you need to watch more than once to catch all the details, but that's part of what makes it so intriguing. I also have a soft spot for musicals. One of my favorites is The Sound of Music. The songs are so memorable, and the story of Maria and the Von Trapp family is both touching and uplifting. Whenever I watch it, I find myself humming along to songs like Do Re Mi and Edelweiss. If I'm watching with friends, we often go for something funny. Comedies are great for bringing people together, and one of my favorites is Mean Girls. It's a hilarious look at high school life, filled with iconic lines that people still quote today. Watching it with a group always guarantees lots of laughs. For family movie nights, Disney and Pixar films are always a hit. Movies like Finding Nemo and Coco are not only visually stunning but also packed with meaningful messages about family, friendship, and perseverance. These are the kinds of movies that appeal to all ages and create lasting memories. Let's not forget documentaries. I enjoy watching them when I'm in the mood to learn something new. One that I highly recommend is My Octopus Teacher. It's about a man who forms a unique bond with an octopus while exploring the underwater world. The visuals are breathtaking, and the story is surprisingly emotional. Movies also serve as a great way to practice English. Just like books, they expose you to new vocabulary, phrases, and accents. I often watch movies with subtitles, especially if the dialogue is fast or the characters have strong accents. This helps me understand the story better while picking up new words and expressions. A good example is The Devil Wears Prada. It's a fun movie set in the fashion industry, and you'll hear lots of vocabulary related to work, style, and relationships. Plus, Meryl Streep's performance as the intimidating Miranda Priestley is phenomenal. Another way to improve your English through movies is by rewatching your favorites. The first time, you focus on understanding the story. The second time, You can pay more attention to the language and how the characters express themselves. For instance, I've watched Frozen several times, and each time I pick up on something new, whether it's a phrase or just the way characters use tone and emotion in their speech. If you're looking for movies that are beginner-friendly, animated films like Zootopia and Moana are excellent choices. They're easy to follow, entertaining, and filled with simple yet useful vocabulary. Sometimes I enjoy exploring movies from different cultures. For example, I recently watched Parasite, a South Korean film that won the Oscar for Best Picture. It's a dark but fascinating story about class and family dynamics. Watching international films not only broadens your horizons, but also gives you a glimpse into other languages and cultures. Finally, I want to talk about the experience of going to the cinema. There's something so special about watching a movie on the big screen with surround sound and a crowd of people. I remember going to see Avengers Endgame in the theater, and the energy in the room was incredible. Everyone cheered, laughed, and even cried together. It was a reminder of how movies can bring people together. And when it comes to snacks, popcorn is a must for me. Whether it's buttery, salty, or caramel-coated, it just makes the movie experience complete. So, those are some of my thoughts on movies. They have the power to entertain, inspire, and teach us in so many ways. I hope this inspires you to watch something new or revisit an old favorite. Whether you're into action, romance, comedy, or documentaries, there's a movie out there for everyone. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy talking about your favorite books and movies in English.
Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, and share our channel Magic Mingle with your friends to enjoy more magical stories.